It's Friday afternoon in Sydney, Australia, and that means it's time for Friday Beers with Marc and Stuart. I'm Stuart Roberts.
I'm Mark Kenneth, and by the way, Stu, it's Thursday in San Francisco, so
okay,
Thursday beers.
Right. Yeah, but that answers the question I was going to say from the old video, where the bloody hell are you?
So where the bloody hell are you?
You've been in California for the last week looking at some tech companies over there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in San Francisco, and I spent some time around the Bay Area looking at a number of tech companies, including some of ASX-listed ones. So this week as well, Semicon West, one of the biggest trade shows in the semiconductor space. So yeah, and I actually caught the Gay Pride Parade. So you're probably sorry that you missed that one. It's right up your alley.
You
didn't
bring me with you to see the Gay Pride Parade. That's terrible.
Yeah, you missed it. Sorry, Stu.
Right.
Next year.
And so what's the big thing in tech in California at the moment, judging by what you've been hearing from companies over there?
If you ask me, I think looking at the semiconductor cycle, as you know, it's a very cyclical business. I think consensus is sort of that we're at the low end of the cycle, basically, and so meaning that if you can sort of time it within a couple of months as an investor, then you can make a lot of money. And I think we're sort of around the low end, give or take a couple of months. And the sentiment right here is, I think, later this year, early next year, things should be picking up. But as you know, share markets always sort of anticipate that. So I think, 6 to 9 months ahead of that, you'll see a pickup in share prices. And looking at valuations, price to book is my favorite one for semiconductor and equipment stocks.
Yes.
Most of them trade around 2 times. I think you can have multiple expansion towards, 4, maybe sometimes 5 or 6 if you really got a specific niche. It's looking good, I think, from where I'm sitting.
Okay, good. Now, one thing it's not looking good for is the folks who used to work at Oyster Bank. What do you make of the fact that Oyster are shutting down their equities business completely?
Yeah, look, I saw they're blaming Wall Street for most of it, but I think part of it has to do with what we've talked about before, MiFID II, regulation out of Europe, sort of making sure, forcing fund managers to break out all the costs of their trading, including equities research. So I think that's helped as well. So margin compression in brokerage has been going on for 10, 15 years. And I think, Deutsche is just at the point where they really can't justify, having all those people on the payroll for a business that is basically going backwards. So
Jetzt möchte ich wirklich wissen, auf welcher Seite der liebe Gott steht.
It's of course right up our alley. I mean, looking at the number of analysts in Europe, it's already gone down, I think, by 40% in the UK since the introduction of MiFID II last year. And I think that's only going to sort of, progress sort of that decline in number of analysts and research in general.
Yes.
And that's where we come in, right? So,
right.
It plays right into our business model, basically.
Yeah, which reminds me, happy anniversary, Mark. We started Pitt Street Research a year ago on Independence Day, 4th of July, 2018. And here we are a year later. We're still out there pitching, serving about 20 ASX-listed companies as clients, and still with our sanity in one place, thankfully.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's been an interesting year. Gone up to quite a big number of clients. Yeah. By the way, what are you drinking there? I thought we were saving that for last usually.
Yeah. So this is Young Henry's summer ale. Local beer from Newtown. Ordinarily, I wouldn't touch anything in Newtown, given the politics of most people who live in that inner city suburb. But I'll make an exception for Young Henry's. This is an outstandingly good beer. Anytime you're in the inner city and you're in a pub there, the Young Henry's Newtowner is a mainstay of Sunday afternoon drinking, and this seasonal ale they've brewed up is no exception.
All right, well, save one for me. So by the time I get back, we can both have one.
Right, and bring back some of this good American stuff for me while you're there.
Yeah, absolutely, I will. Right. And which brings me to another topic. You mentioned, we spoke about this a little while ago, not on Friday Beers, but just in general. Yeah. Highly shorted stocks on the ASX, and you had to look at a bunch of them, right? And
absolutely
looked at what's driving that, and also in terms of where the share price is now, is a short on a stock like that still justified? So talk us through sort of your top 4 shorts that shouldn't really be shorts.
Absolutely. So let's start with Syra Resources. SYR is the code. I love this one. It's down at about 300 million market cap, which is a lot lower than what it was at its peak. Syra is the world's leading producer of graphite. They've got a new graphite mine in Mozambique, of all places, southern African country. When I say leading supplier, they're the swing supplier. the big new stock
Right.
of graphite that's coming on the market are coming from these guys. Now, graphite obviously is a big component in the batteries going into electric vehicles. The reason this one is being shorted, and we'll come to this with a couple of other short candidates, is there was a big run-up in companies involved in battery materials last year. The assumption by many people in the marketplace is that story is so 2018 and it'll never come back again. Now,
right. So the other
like
short in the same space, right? In lithium.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See, people are presuming that the electric car is one of those things that'll never that we dreamed about as kids that'll never actually happen. Well, I've got news for the dinosaurs out there. The electric car is here. My next car, I predict, will be a Tesla when we get around to hustling a bit more money out of Pitt Street Research.
Right.
The biggest market in the world for electric vehicles is China, and they've got the spending capacity to really grow that market. So basically, they're fostering the market for graphite, lithium, and a whole lot of other battery materials such as cobalt, vanadium, etc. The commodities aren't moving in the right direction, but the medium-term trend is up on just about every projection. So
which other plays in that space would you say should really be shorts at this time?
The ones you need to look at are Galaxy, GXR, and Orocobre, ORE. Galaxy's got a big hard rock lithium mine in Western Australia called Mount Cadlin. Orocobre, more recent startup of their brine production operation at Olaroz in northern Argentina. So in each case, pretty strong demand for the product. Pricing's not so great, but medium term they're in reasonably good shape for what they're doing. But you wouldn't tell that from the way that the market is heavily shorting these guys.
All right.
We're talking 19% of the register is short for Syra. For Galaxy, it's about 14. For Orocobre is 15.
Right. And you had another consumer brand on that list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we previously talked about Demise as one of those companies that the barbarians could be knocking out at the gate. This is a company that is a big producer of powdered milk to substitute for breast milk for babies and so forth.
Right.
One of the world's biggest consumers of that kind of product is China. Now, Bellamy's is waiting for the Chinese regulator, SAMR, to get approval to sell their powder in China. When that comes through, they're ready to sell it. They've got brand ambassadors, they've got distributors in all the major Chinese cities. The stock is being shorted on the expectation that the Chinese will take their sweet time about approving this.
Right.
But you've got to be worried if you're a short that the day that approval comes through, that stock will rebound in a serious way. At the moment, it's about 15% shorted.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So, okay.
So basically, when you get home, we'll talk a bit more about what you learn on the California tech scene. But what's your mood like? What's the mood like in America generally in terms of markets?
People are still sort of figuring out what the Fed's going to do. Rate cut, of course, that's market expects a cut in the very short term. But the question is how big and will there be something else? So we just saw a bit of a sell-off earlier in the week, and we'll see how that goes. But overall, I'd say in San Francisco the mood is fabulous. So it's all good.
Well, I've just had a rate cut back here in Australia, so I would say the mood is fairly bullish. Good luck, investors, in the coming week, and Mark, safe travels when you come back to Australia.
All right. Cheers.